to this week's Money Metals podcast, helping gold and silver investors during these turbulent times. Now, this week's market wrap with commentary and analysis from Money Metals Exchange, the company named Best Overall Precious Metals Dealer by Investopedia.
Welcome to this week's Market Wrap podcast. I'm Mike Leeson. Coming up, we've got a special roundtable conversation between Mike Maharrey and the three Money Metals owners. Learn about the founding of our company, what drove each of us to get into this industry, and the success formula that enabled our family business to grow into the leading online retailer and depository in the United States. We certainly hope you will enjoy this discussion, so be sure to stick around for that coming up after this week's market update. And as a reminder, please download, like, rate, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you consume this content. Well, the Federal Reserve cranked up the inflation machine this week, despite acknowledging inflation has moved up and remains elevated. The FOMC voted 11-1 to cut the federal funds rate by 0.25%, setting the interest rate between 4 and 4.25%, and it projected 2 more cuts before the end of the year. In its official statement, the committee expressed concern about the softening economy, noting that economic activity moderated in the first half of the year and that job gains have slowed. However, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell characterized the rate cut as a move to mitigate risk, not to rescue the economy. Many market observers took that as a more hawkish sign, assuming the cutting program will be limited. Metals markets have certainly responded well to the news. Gold is still slightly below its high from earlier in the week here on Friday, but is still up 0.8% since last week's close to come in at $3,686 an ounce. Silver, meanwhile, is seeing a big advance here today and is back up near the $43 an ounce level we saw a few days ago. The white metal currently checks in at $42.92, up 1.3% for the week. This will be the 5th straight week of gains for both gold and silver. The PGMs are somewhat mixed, with platinum up 0.5% to trade at $1,415, but palladium is off 4.3% to come in at $1,165 as of this Friday morning recording. Although he didn't use the word, Powell described a stagflationary setup, noting higher unemployment combined with rising inflation. The only no vote on this week's FOMC rate decision was recent President Trump appointee Governor Stephen Miron, who advocated for a 0.5 point reduction. But Powell said there wasn't widespread support for a bigger 50 basis point cut. The FOMC released its dot plot, including 2 more rate cuts this year. However, the committee now only anticipates 1 cut next year. While analysts tend to get all excited about these dot plot forecasts, they are virtually meaningless. Fed members are notoriously bad at projecting the trajectory of interest rates, even though they're the ones literally setting the rates. How bad is their track record? Well, fund manager David Hay analyzed past dot plots and found the FOMC only got interest rate projections right 37% of the time. And as Hay humorously pointed out, they control interest rates. For instance, in March 2021, the FOMC projected the interest rate would still be 0 in 2022. The actual 2022 rate was 1.75%. And in 2023, the vast majority of FOMC members thought the rate would still be at 0. The actual rate was over 5%. The FOMC would probably get better results by flipping coins or throwing darts at the wall. While the rate cut may provide some relief for an economy buried in debt, it will also ramp up inflation. The cut will incentivize more borrowing. The downside is that in a fractional reserve banking system, an increase in lending grows the money supply. Powell said the rate cut put monetary policy in a more neutral position. After the June meeting, he characterized policy as moderately restrictive. In fact, policy is historically loose and wasn't even tight at the height of the tightening cycle. After contracting during the hiking cycle, the money supply has been expanding for well over a year. This is by definition inflation. Looking at the historical data also reveals that the current interest rate level isn't high at all. So why cut rates? Especially given the CPI data, which indicates inflation is alive and well. The economy is showing cracks, and Powell acknowledged that he didn't want to see any further deterioration in the job market. This underscores the catch-22 facing the Fed. Price inflation is clearly alive and well based on the CPI, and monetary inflation is expanding. This would indicate the need to hold rates higher for longer. However, the debt-riddled bubble economy is addicted to easy money. It simply can't function in a tighter monetary policy environment. In other words, the Fed needs to cut rates and hold them higher at the same time. It appears the central bankers have chosen to try to keep the air in the bubble economy at the risk of unleashing more inflation. Well, now, for more on the founding of our company and for more background on our owners, let's get right to this week's interview. And please bear with us on some of the echoey sound you will hear.
Greetings, I'm Mike Maharrey. I'm an analyst and reporter here at Money Metals, and I'm really excited because I'm actually here with the people I'm interviewing today. I'm with the directors, the brain trust behind Money Metals, Stephen Gleason, Mike Gleason, and Clint Signer. I knew I was going to say that wrong. I should have asked you before we started. That's bad journalism etiquette. I'm sorry. But anyway, it's really exciting. We're all here together in the home office in Idaho, and we're just going to have a little chat. And the first thing that I want to do, and just kind of ask each of you to kind of talk about a little bit about. Well, let's first give people context. This is a family affair. It's one of the biggest online bullion dealers in the country, but it started out as pretty much a kind of a family vision. And Stephen and Mike are brothers, and then Clint is the brother-in-law. And so it's not only a business, but it's a family thing, which is kind of cool. So I kind of want to ask, just like growing up, did any of you ever imagine that you were going to be gold bullion dealers? Like, how did this come about in your background?
I got into it for ideological reasons. I got turned off on big government, too much borrowing, too much spending, precious metals, or sort of a way of protecting yourself against the declining dollar. So I was an investor in metals before we actually launched this business, and when the opportunity came along to actually be in the precious metal business, it made tons of sense to me.
Yeah, as Clint said, similar reasons, why I got into it. When Stephen approached us about the idea back in 2010, it was really a perfect fit because we all were so ideologically sort of aligned with the vision of precious metals and the importance of ownership, all being, I guess, personal investors, leading up to that time period. But when it came to growing up with that vision, I wouldn't necessarily say that. Our father was pretty involved in politics as a hobby. He was a political campaign button collector, and we'd kind of tag along with him at different meets that he would go to as he was dealing in his memorabilia there and the campaign buttons. So I think that's kind of how we originally got interested in the subject of politics, and then of course that's led to monetary policy and finance and so forth. But it all ties together, as we all know.
Yeah, I didn't know that I would go into business. Actually, in high school, I thought I wanted to be a professional bowler, actually. I bowled in college, but I went to college for engineering. For me, my first career was in public policy, and what kind of got me into that was being at a university and being exposed to a bunch of very left-wing forces that were trying to indoctrinate students. It kind of gave me a bad taste in my mouth, and I got involved in public policy in Washington, D.C. right out of college, in support of free market and conservative-leaning causes. And, I guess for me it was marketing was a big part of what I did and do. That kind of carried me into investing and also then in interest in precious metals. For me, it was actually first kind of understanding interest rates and just learning this crazy system, this Federal Reserve system we have, and what dominates or controls interest rates, and it just led me to the whole Austrian economics hard money conversation, and personally started investing. And then when I wanted to move on to a new career, precious metals was something that was right there as something I was interested in, and it also fit into some of my worldview, which is in favor of limited government and individual rights, and the idea that sound money is actually part of the solution to the problems in our country, and the lack of sound money is a big cause of the problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Stephan, a little birdie told me that when you were a kid, you drew a picture of a mint and said that you wanted to have a mint. Is that true? And how does that get into the head of a kid?
I don't know. I was my mom brought that to my attention recently. Maybe it was in the box of stuff that they handed to me when they wanted all my stuff out of the house. I think that's when I found it. But anyway, apparently when I was 4 years old, I had drawn this crayon picture of this money machine where you put in paper and coins or metal. Now, at that time, I thought paper was money. Actually, today, most people still think paper is money. But at least I had the metal part, so there were two slots, and you put it in, and out came these minted coins and dollar bills. So I don't know. I guess I had a fascination at a young age with what is money and how you make money, physically, what makes money. But anyway, it's kind of ironic. But that's the story there.
So basically, you wanted to be the Fed. You wanted to be the money maker.
Well, maybe that would suggest that I want to own a mint, which frankly is, certainly part of a potential business plan for a company like ours. But we have a lot of great mint relationships. Our main business, of course, is, everything sort of next to that, which is the dealer, the depository, the lender. So it's kind of it's a neat story, but who knows? Yeah.
So here's something that I'm curious about. Any group of people, you have a group of directors, and there can be tensions and differences of opinion in vision and whatnot. That's just natural. You guys are throwing an extra kind of thing into it is you have the family dynamics as well, which we all know family dynamics can be a challenge as well. How has it been working together as, also having these familial relationships? Do you think that's a plus? Has it been a struggle? How does that kind of play out?
Well, who wants to tackle that? How much do we?
How much dirty laundry do you want to air?
Well, we do have a majority owner, so sometimes that helps settle disputes. But the bottom line is, it's extremely fulfilling to be able to build this business shoulder to shoulder with my brother-in-law, my brother. Frankly, when I launched the business, I needed to have people I trusted. You're talking about high values, you're talking about very small margins, and security and everything else related. So it just made sense. Clint was already investing in precious metals. He was actually the anchor. He's the first guy we approached to build the business, and it very quickly took off. We had already had a customer base through our publishing company, and then Mike joined. Honestly, it's just an incredible blessing to be able to work with these guys, and especially as it's gone well. Honestly, we're all motivated to by the same thing, and that is to help our customers and to help our country, and we feel like we're able to do that every day. And the other thing is that we each bring different skills to the table, which frankly is the success formula. I couldn't have done it without Clint. Clint couldn't have done it without Mike. The three of us together kind of complement each other. It just happened that way. And so anyway, it's worked out. But there are, of course, we're three different people. But the good news is that we can't get rid of each other. We're related.
Sure enough, I think what Stephan just said is exactly right. There have been, we've had our moments of disagreement, of course, but I think over time, for one, I've learned how to be sort of a minority owner in a business. That was a learning curve, for me. But everybody is confident, and that's, of course, the main thing when you're trying to build a successful business, is that everybody brings something to the table, and that's certainly true here. We've had a lot of fun. The business has been successful. That really helps, of course, and at this point, we're all sort of pulling the same direction, certainly ideologically and otherwise. So it's been a great ride.
Yeah, just echo those sentiments for sure. And to Stephan's point, it's really neat the way that it's come together. Just from the different skill set standpoint, I'd say that's probably one of the I think the secret to the success of the business is the fact that we do kind of bring different strengths, and they're unique individually and collectively. It's been a really great team aspect. We have great people too. I mean, it's a lot more than just the three of us. It's a big company, many people that work here. But when it comes to management or different skill sets, operationally, technically, marketing wise, leadership wise, it's pretty neat to see that dynamic at play over the years. Just the way that we all kind of complement each other in the different skill sets we have.
Yeah, for sure. From my perspective, this is my first time being here at the home office and meeting everybody. And I can see the synergy between you guys, just in talking to you and watching you interact. And kind of going to what you're saying, Mike, it's really interesting. And I think a testament to the work that you guys have done and the culture that you've built, that everybody that I've met that works here, it just seems like quality people, passionate about their job. I've not met anybody that seems like, I don't want to be here at work, and everybody seems very enthusiastic, and that says a lot about you guys coming from the top, and the culture that you've created, which is not an easy thing to do. As you guys were starting the business, what was maybe the biggest challenge in terms of getting this off the ground?
Go ahead, Clint.
Yeah. We were lucky to launch at a great time in the markets. When we launched the business in 2010, it was just after the 08 financial crisis, and people were really interested in gold and silver. We launched with just a single product, and we were sort of immediately successful. Started adding products and people. So because of the advantages we had opening, Stefan came from the publishing business. We had a list of subscribers there that we could market to. We had mostly advantages. There was really not a giant hurdle. At that time, there have been hurdles to get over as we've gone along. We've had to learn how to secure the business, and we've had issues come up along the way, but it was we had a lot of things working in our favor right out of the gate.
Yeah, I think it was in the early years. It was very much just building the infrastructure and dealing with the staffing and getting a better handle on all the dynamics of the business. Even with very quickly we had 8 to 10, 15 people within a year or two. Now we have over 100.
Managing growth is definitely a challenge. Itself, even if things are great, it can be hard to deal with the growth.
Another thing, frankly, is the banking sector, particularly for small business. We're very large now, but back in the early years, banking was difficult, credit card stuff was difficult. There were a lot of fraud. Learning how to deal with the fraud situations that come up. People are trying to defraud businesses all the time, and precious metals is definitely an area where fraudsters target. So learning how to protect the business, protect the customers is definitely a lot to be done in that area. And early on, when you don't have a lot of resources and people and just know-how, it's more tricky. Banks were, difficult at first, just because most of them don't like precious metals. They don't understand precious metals. They're more regulated if they do business with precious metals dealers because of the Operation Choke Point and the Obama rules and Patriot Act and all that stuff. So those things were tricky. But honestly, we have no complaints. I mean, we had a lot of advantages to start and a great group to start with.
So one of the things in my view that makes a successful business is that you are meeting a need. And it's I think a lot of people think that maybe the whole objective of business is making money, and obviously that we all, if we're in business, we all want to make money, but really a successful business is not going to come about just because I want to make money. It's going to come about because you're meeting a need and serving a community. So I'd like for each one of you to just kind of articulate how you feel like this particular industry and the business that you're in is helping your customers.
I guess I'll start. Yeah, I think that's critical. I mean, obviously, I don't think we would, one, have probably gotten into the business, and two, lasted as long as we have and been as successful as we've been if we didn't really believe in what we were doing. So I just, completely view it as a critical component of anybody's financial portfolio to have diversification into precious metals. Was doing that myself before we launched this business, and it's all the reasons for doing that have only become more and more prevalent over time. When we first started, of course, we had right on the heels of the financial crisis and a big wave of quantitative easing and money printing, as the government's response, which is what governments do. They inflate the currency to paper over their problems, and that's just creates more and more need for people to have real money and protection against what's happening all around the world when it comes to paper fiat currency, and kind of go on your own personal gold standard, and so just view what we're doing as critically important, and we all still, I think, are very passionate about the idea of helping folks in that way. I mean, really, gold and silver is in essence financial insurance, and everybody should have it. So it's
And then going past that, I mean, agree with everything Mike said. And it was my motivations as well. Another thing, though, was really that most of the dealers that were out there, and still are unfortunately a prevalent part of our industry, were trying to put people, especially on the national level, maybe not local coin shops, but there's a whole business model within our industry that's trying to pressure people into the upsell of rare coins and so-called collectible coins that are not rare, not collectible. They're fake collectibles. They may be made of precious metals, but they're certainly not collectible. They're just, in fact, they're worse than just a bullion item, because when people want to sell, you end up selling something that nobody wants other than for its metal value. So, and so, we really made a big emphasis on we are not, we are the answer to the scammers, the answer to the high pressure markup people, mostly who are still out there advertising on TV with celebrity spokespeople. And in our you got people. It's hard enough to kind of break through all the propaganda. Your financial advisor is not telling you to buy gold and silver. That's another discussion why they don't have incentive to do that. But some people kind of figured out, wait a minute, there's something wrong with our money, or my savings is being destroyed. How do I protect this? Oh, precious metals, constitutional money. This is, it's a hedge. And then at the last second, some of those people are hijacked and put into these rip-off 100%, 200% of melt value items. And it's just such a travesty, because it's so hard just to get yourself to that point when everything is, not telling you to do that, and you need to do that. And then at the last minute, somebody sells you on that. So we really made a big push, like we are bullion, we're focused on bullion, look at what the melt value is, understand what you're buying, how much you would get when you sell it at the same time. The spread should be very small. Don't buy these oddball things. Don't buy a story. At the end of the day, it's worth what the gold and silver is worth. And so that was kind of our unique selling point. Now there's a lot more bullion dealers. There were very few at the time. And that's really where we think people should be, investing and stay away from the markup and the collectibles.
One of the things that we do isn't so much that we're meeting, a client's need, or at least not in, maybe the sense everybody thinks. Part of what we do is first have to educate somebody about why they might need precious metals. I mean, we as owners would believe everybody, literally everybody probably needs to own some gold and silver, physical metal. But there are a whole lot of people out there that, America has largely forgotten about, metal and its relationship to money. They've been told by their financial advisors that, they should, not worry about, that barbarous relic, or, be buying, pet rocks or, whatever. Metals have been disparaged by Wall Street. And so, people, have to fight through that, and that's a lot of what we do, is trying to educate people about, sort of penetrate that nonsense and, remind people, why metal is important to own. We have a whole, arm of the company that is putting out educational content, things like this podcast, specifically to sort of reorient people, have them understand why it's important to own.
Commitment to content and education, and we're certainly the most prolific publisher and creator of educational content in our industry.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I mean, I think that's a huge service to folks. As Clint mentioned, there's such a lack of education and really diseducation, if I can make up a word, in terms of precious metals. So, and I think that speaks to what you guys have kind of touched on, this passion that you have, that this is not just a business for you guys, it's rooted in your foundational principles, and I think that definitely comes through. Stephen, you kind of touched on this, but I'd like for each of you to articulate in kind of a short form, what do you think makes Money Metals stand out among all of the other dealers and potential places you can go buy gold and silver out there? Why should folks that are listening today say, you know what, I want to get some gold and silver, I'm going to go to Money Metals?
Yeah. Well, I think it has to do with the fact that we believe in our product. We understand the reasons to own gold and silver, and we articulate that. We fight to not just help our customers, get access to it, but we're also working at the state and federal level to promote sound money as a policy, because that's such a big part of the problem we have in our country, including the big government and debt that flows from that. And so I think that we are aligned with our customers who believe in this and who believe that they want to do business with somebody who understands it's not just a widget that happens to be gold. The other thing is that we are very much sort of a dynamic business in that we can help people in many different ways, whether it be storage, whether it be with a monthly savings plan, and of course we have a lending program for people who want to have a line of credit secured by their gold. Lots of different sort of interrelated offerings, I think, that would make us a one-stop shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll just expand on that. I think Stephen hit on it. The fact that we're not just selling just some random product. People want to know why they're buying it. They need to be sort of educated. I mean, that's a huge problem. I think is the education problem that we have when it comes to finances and monetary policy in specific. And I think just the fact that people can know that they're dealing with people that are sort of in the trenches with them on that whole subject, and then also put a primary importance on education and commentary and just arming people with knowledge. We're not just arming them with the actual products themselves and the gold and silver that they can have in their possession, but arming them with the knowledge, and knowledge is power, as we know. So I think that's probably one of the things I love about our business the most, is just that we are helping folks in that educational process. We're always learning.
Yeah.
Just a couple of things maybe to add, on top of what Mike and Stephen have just shared. Our company does a pretty good job of handling just the little things. If you call Money Metals, you'll get actual live person, to answer the phone. We have really great people who can answer questions. They're friendly, and so customers of course pick up on that. We also, I think in this day and age, people enjoy doing business with, companies that do not hate them.
Right.
Yes. And, certainly, we're pretty much ideologically aligned with our, the vast majority of our customer base, and people will immediately pick up on that if they read something that we put out, or if they call here and talk to one of our people. That's something that's important, to us.
Yeah. Very good point. All right, one more question. I'm going to get you out on this. Everybody knows that brothers fight. Who can take whom?
Well, Clint's got us on that one.
Yeah, I knew the answer to that.
Clint was a football player. He's taller than all of us. I think. Well, Mike, you're 6'5". Clint, you're 6'4". I'm 6'3". We could probably do as well as a basketball team. But
yeah, I said when I got here, I'm too short to work on this. I'm right about at 6 foot.
Yeah. I think when Mike was a little kid, I probably could take him. I don't know about now. We won't try, but Although you guys did sumo wrestling at the company party yesterday, and Clint won that.
Yeah, that won about as everyone won.
Yeah, that's exactly how everybody
The former offensive lineman took me. No,
we don't need to go into details. Let's just say the physics were on my side.
Well, I just want to say, while I've got you guys, I'm in front of you guys, I really have. I've been here a little over a year and a half now, and this is a good thing to be able to say. I'm extremely proud to be associated with what you guys have built. And coming here this week has been eye-opening in a good way. I've had a good sense and a good feeling, but actually being here and seeing everybody interact and getting to know all the quality people that are here and being able to see firsthand the processes that have been put in place. And I can't emphasize, we don't want to get into that in a podcast, but folks that are listening can know that the processes in terms of auditing and making sure that your order is correct and all of those things, it's amazing the details that have been worked out here. So I just want to compliment you guys on building a fantastic company, and am excited and happy to be part of it, and also believe in the vision. So it's been great having you three guys here together, and being able to talk to you. So thanks a lot.
Well, Mike, you've been a huge part of our team, and in the last year and a half, I mean, I don't know how many things you've written, how many podcasts. You've probably done 100 podcasts and written 300 articles, and you come from a background too of the same kind of ideology and passion that we do. So it's a great fit. We're proud to have you.
Okay, thank you guys. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you,
Mike.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. We certainly enjoyed doing that, and hopefully it was informative for our audience and gave you some background and some insights into our team here at Money Metals. Well, that will do it for this week. Be sure to check back next Friday for next weekly Market Wrap podcast. And don't miss our second weekly podcast, the Money Metals Midweek Memo, which airs each Wednesday. To check out any of our audio programs, just visit moneymetals.com/podcast. or find them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or on other popular podcast platforms. And it's a big help to us. We would ask that you please like, subscribe, download, and rate our podcasts. Doing so helps us extend the reach of this material. Until next time, this has been Mike Leeson with Money Metals Exchange. Thanks for listening, and have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you for joining us for this week's Money Metals podcast. Be sure to come back next week. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast through iTunes. For answers to all of your questions, or to discreetly and securely buy or sell gold or silver coins, bars, and rounds, call 1-800-800-1865 or visit www.moneymetals.com. Our knowledgeable and no-pressure specialists are standing by to answer your call during business hours, Monday through Saturday. Or you can lock in your order online, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, visit us at www.moneymetals.com or call 1-800-800-1865.